In this video, we will introduce constructors and initialization. Each class you declare, you can provide a special method called a constructor that can be used to initialize an object of a class when the object is first created. In fact, Java requires a constructor call for every object that's created. The keyword new requests memory from the system to store an object, then calls a corresponding class's constructor to initialize the object, and a constructor must have the same name as the class. So for example here, I have a constructor which has the same name as the class. By default, the compiler provides a default constructor with no parameters in any class that does not explicitly include a constructor. When a class has only the default constructor, its instance variables are initialized to the default values. So looking at our basic example, we realize that if this class had no constructor, one would be provided, and the instance variables would be initialized to their default values, an int to 0, etc. So numeric data types are set to 0, char data types are set to null character, and reference variables are set to null. Remember that in order to create a constructor, we're going to observe the following rules. It has the same name as a class. It should not return a value, not even void, because it is not a method. As we see here, there is no return. Now you may have noticed that I have not just one constructor, but I have several. This is called constructor overloading, and is a technique in Java in which a class can have any number of constructors that differ in parameter lists. The compiler differentiates these constructors by taking into account the number of parameters in the list and their types. So here I have one that is an empty constructor, one that receives an integer, and another an object reference. Now we have here also another class called chaining demo, parent and child. Consider a scenario where a base class is extended by a child. Whenever an object of the child class is created, the constructor of the parent class is invoked first. This is called constructor chaining. So here I have a class called child which extends parent. Remember that this constructor will always be called before the child. And this concludes our discussion of constructors and initialization.